This week, I decided to visit every downtown Toronto Tim Hortons location to try to figure out which one is best. And boy, did I not know what I was getting into. We begin today with some numbers, so please bear with me. Tim Hortons is a Canadian so-called coffee house chain that has over 3,500 locations across the country being Canada.
Sorry to interrupt, but I just discovered that Tim's now operates in China. They just launched in 2019, and they're planning to have over 3,000 locations opened up? What in the fuck? Anyways, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
It is by far the most prevalent fast food chain in Canada, although I'm not sure if it strictly fits the definition of fast food. I will be referring to Tim Hortons as Tim's for the duration of this video. Toronto is the biggest city in Canada, covering over 630 square kilometers. The internet will tell you that there are 168 Tim Hortons locations in the city, but I did my own research and found closer to 300 locations in the city. The downtown area is home to over 200,000 people, but there are more than twice as many jobs in the area. All these commuters play a huge role in downtown Toronto's economy. Toronto's downtown covers less than 3% of Toronto's surface area. With all this in mind, how many Tim Hortons locations do you think there are in downtown Toronto? Is it 28, 50, 62, or 78?
I'll give you a spoiler.
Spoiler alert, it's 78, and I did not realize this at the start. Now, before we get into things, I have to confess that I am not a frequenter of Tim's. I have never actually eaten any of their hot food items. My go-to order as a kid was always just a plain bagel with cream cheese. It's a winter thunderstorm today. It's February. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I unfortunately cannot get into a conversation about iced caps here. Sorry. When I conceived of the idea for this video, an initial Google search yielded 28 Tim Hortons locations, so I set about making a route plan and deciding on which variables I was going to use to find the best Tim Hortons location in downtown Toronto. You have anything to say? No? Get out of here. The most obvious place to start was Google reviews. Every store had a rating out of 5 stars. A brief look at these reviews, as well as discussions with Tim's regulars, will reveal that item availability is a common issue. I decided to document pastry availability, as these are readily visible right at the counter. I acknowledge this is not a perfect measure, but it may serve as a strong indicator of how well this location manages their demand. Efficiency and friendliness of staff is also important, so I assigned a ranking out of 10 for each location. I decided to weight efficiency higher than friendliness. These people are not paid very much, and they deal with a lot of people. Dealing with a lot of people means dealing with a lot of assholes. So I did not have an expectation that these folks would deliver outstanding service.
That's not what you go to Tim's for.
I decided that the baseline rating, if staff were efficient and not rude, would be a 7 out of 10. Atmosphere was also considered as a rating out of 10. This rating would reflect how nice a place this location is to go to and be in. I did not have high expectations for this. Tim's has never really felt like home to me. It's always just kind of felt brown and browner. Cleanliness of dining area and bathrooms were also rated out of 10, respectively. Now, I acknowledge that it would be a huge mistake to simply visit every Tim's and rate them solely on observation. So, I needed one consumable item that I could purchase from each location in order to compare the quality of their items directly. Enter the chocolate glazed Timbit. Timbits are miniature donuts, and they are one of Tim's main staples. They range from 50 to 90 calories a pop, and fuck are they tasty. I'm a fan of honey dip and sour cream glazed, but chocolate glazed takes the damn cake. These little turds remind me of Saturday mornings when I would go out and get my haircut with my dad. The barber always had a bowl of Timbits, and I would pluck those little buggers right out of there. These mornings would always end with a ridiculously slow shopping trip, either to the grocery store or to the bay. I much preferred the bay trips because I could sit in the corner and play on his BlackBerry while he shopped for undershirts or whatever dads shop for.
Get it? Oh, shit.
Anyways, I rated each chocolate glazed Timbit I got out of 10. I did a slightly more zoomed in Google search and found that the tally was now up to 50 Tim's locations downtown. No matter, I was willing to take on this challenge. That's 50 Timbits over the course of 2 days. Boy howdy. I began day one in high spirits.
Stop number 1. The quest begins.
We started out with a 10 out of 10 Timbit. I was out on my bike enjoying the sunshine and doing something nobody had ever done before. What a joy. There are a few downtown Toronto Tim's locations that have a fancy seasonal menu, very a la Starbucks. When I went, these locations had matcha lattes, matcha pastries, and a crème brûlée donut. The first one of these fancy locations I visited was at 17 Lower Jarvis, which had a very concerning Google review about the quality of their regular lattes. I don't know what the fuck we're looking at in this photo, but maybe someone can fill me in. Okay. The second fancy location was at 40 University Avenue. Both of these locations were fairly clean and had cool menu items, so they score good points for that. They both scored even better points when I opened my bags to discover that the staff had given me 2 Timbits instead of the one that I had forked over my 35 cents for.
I can't believe she gave me 2. Oh, fuck. No. If only I had 40 something more Timbits to enjoy. It has a birthday cake piece on it, so a little bit of contamination. This one's not the best. It has that like chemically flavor to it.
The only other location that gave me 2 Timbits for the price of 1 was at 150 John Street, the location that has the regular Tim's menu. Of these 3 generous locations, 17 Lower Jarvis was the only one that had any seating, but it was so cramped and the line moved right past the tables that it was not a nice place to sit. The staff at all 3 of these generous locations were also friendlier than average, so I think there's some sort of correlation between store size and staff mood, leading to free Timbits for me. Allow me to elaborate. Because no one is eating in, staff don't have to clean up people's messes. There's also no room for a customer to take a staff member aside to complain about an order. These are very get in, get out environments. So I theorize that the staff at these locations generally deal with less shit. Please note that this theory only applies to standalone locations above ground with windows. I don't think that the locations in office buildings or Union Station have this same rule, because these are not pleasant work environments. The lack of dining space in these locations lowers the atmosphere rating. So let's talk about all the lowest atmosphere ratings. The only gas station Tim's in downtown Toronto is in a neighborhood called Cabbagetown. It received a 2 out of 10 only because I had somebody hold the door for me on the way in and then another person hold the door for me on the way out, so it just felt kind of friendly. The location at 26 Dundas Street East got a 1 out of 10 only because it has a fireplace. There did used to be seating in this location. That one shook the glasses. There did used to be seating at this location, which I remember from a previous emergency bathroom visit, but it has long since gone. This location is opposite a safe injection site, so I imagine they've had their fair share of issues. Fair enough, but it's not a nice place to be. It's very get the fuck out of here vibes. As it happens, while I was enjoying my Timbit, a gentleman rolling a joint at a table inside asked me if I could buy his coffee for him.
Can I have a coffee, please?
Now the zeros. Both locations in Union Station, which are strictly there for travelers, definitely not places you would ever travel to. The location in Atriumon Bay, which is underground, I had no fun here. And the one on Jarvis, located in Araba, which is a small local 24-hour grocery chain in Toronto. Okay, the third location with super fancy menu items I went to was at 130 Harbor Street. Though I only received 1 Timbit here, the environment was much nicer than the other 2 super fancy Tims. It was quiet, had large windows, and I actually envisioned myself sitting in with a hot drink to get some work done, if I had to. It felt more like an independent coffee shop than a Tim's.
Clean enough, but it does smell like shit in here, so...
It got the best atmosphere rating of them all, 8.5 out of 10. A somewhat concerning review for the 477 Dundas Street West location stated that they charge for a paper cup of tap water. I had to investigate this for myself. This location was super busy, and I was struck by a fish smell when I walked in. I guess someone had just decided to bring their own lunch instead of order food at the Tim's they went to.
Can I just get 1 chocolate glazed Timbit, please? And can I also trouble you for like a little cup of water or something?
Charge for a cup of water.
Oh, you do? How much?
20 cents.
20 cents? Okay, I'll skip that then. Thank you. Take care. Yeah, they charge for a cup of water. Hell of a Timbit though.
If you are an enemy of capitalism, I would avoid this e-bike delivery driver hangout. There are 4 locations in hospitals, one of which is in sick kids, which I skipped. I chose to omit atmosphere ratings for these locations, hopefully for obvious reasons, and I'm happy to report that the 2 best Timbits I had on day 1 were from hospital locations.
I think that's another 10.
I like to think that Tim's is looking out for our patients and for our healthcare workers. However, there are some Google reviewers that would beg to differ. Lucia, can you stop licking plates? Please? The worst Timbit I had on my journey was at 70 Gerrard Street West. This is very unfortunate because I was really looking forward to visiting this unique 2-storied location. Now she's sitting on a bag. I even tried out their ordering kiosk and got all cozy upstairs before diving into my tasty treat.
Oh.
It received a measly rating of 2 for being very stale and chemically tasting.
These are Tim Hortons Timbits that I've been sitting in my locker for 2 months. Colin, stop trying to get the mold off and just eat it.
These two issues were the most common complaint I had about the subpar Timbits I was served along my journey. Other complaints included flavor contamination due to poor handling, as well as lack of glaze on the Timbit.
Oh, a dry Timbit. That's not pleasant.
The second worst Timbit I had was at the Young Dundas location, conveniently right beside the subway entrance. Service was extremely rapid.
Thanks, guys.
But the donut was just bad.
That tastes like it's been infused with TTC dust. Tastes like smoky.
One location had a broken espresso machine. At this point, day 1 was coming to a close. I had visited 26 locations and eaten as many Timbits. The chocolate glazed Timbit contains 80 calories a pop, so I had consumed 2,080 calories of the little fellas. And I'll tell you, I didn't feel good.
I feel like I'm starting to lose my mind. I'm starting to question my sanity.
Remember that at this point, I still thought there were only 50 locations to go to. That evening, however, I did more thorough research and the tally rose to 78. Oh shit. The next day, I decided to take it easy and only go to 6 locations. I received the cheapest Timbit of my journey at 30 cents, which I think was just due to an error.
Oh, hey! I ran into Haley instead of eating this. Uh-oh.
But this is where things got weird.
They're just getting better and better.
You can call me crazy here, and I think you're gonna have to. My dopamine system is so fired up from these Timbits, I can feel an addiction coming. I'm not kidding.
I can only think about the rest of the Tim's locations I have to go to get more Timbits. Holy fuck. What do they put in these things?
I don't feel like a human being right now.
I have to tell myself no more today.
No more today.
They'll still be there tomorrow.
That night, I only got 3 hours of sleep and was feeling really terrible, so I made the very difficult decision that day 3 would be my last day. I would make 4 more stops to some key locations I hadn't been to yet.
Enjoying this one out by the garbage, which is where I feel like I belong today. They don't taste any worse. If anything, they taste better, but with every bite, I feel worse. So they're so good. Now that I've had 2 Timbits this morning, I feel like I can almost function normally. This is insane. I don't know if this is all completely in my head.
The second to last stop was the Hall of Fame Special Edition Tim's at 181 Bay Street. It was very busy and not a particularly nice place to be. It just felt like a normal Tim's to me.
The first 2 made me feel better. That one, just because it wasn't a 10, is making me excited to be done. So let's go to the lowest rated Tim Hortons last. I look forward to feeling more normal again, and I look forward to sleeping again. How the fuck do I get out of here?
I transported the last Timbit home to enjoy as a shower Timbit.
It's over.
Though I did not complete my quest as I intended, I still made it to 36 out of 78 downtown Toronto Tim's locations, which is a sample size of 46%. I believe this sample size is adequate for me to deliver my results to you with confidence in their stringency and accuracy. So, let's dive in. The average Google rating was 3.52 out of 5 stars, both across all the downtown locations as well as the locations I visited. This consistency helped me validate my sample size. The lowest rating was 2.1.
They've gone up to 2.2 since I've recorded this, so really proud of them.
Assigned to the location I visited last. The highest rating is 4.1, achieved by the location inside Simcoe Place at 200 Front Street West. There are 6 24-hour Tims spread out across downtown. I was disappointed to only see 4 varieties of Timbits out in the field. Chocolate glazed, honey dip, birthday cake, and old-fashioned plain. The worst.
The worst.
It's just a spongy fucking pit of despair. Many locations chose to forego the old-fashioned plain.
Good idea.
They only had 3 varieties available. It seems that Tim's is no longer carrying the variety of Timbits that they used to, including the sour cream glazed, which I really like, and the jelly-filled Timbits, which I fucking hated. It's really weird. One of the classic Tim's orders is a big assorted pack of Timbits, but you can't really do that if you only have 3 types of Timbits available. Of the standalone Tim's locations, the average available seating in them was 20. The staff efficiency and friendliness ranking was on average a 7.4 out of 10. Though staff at some locations were a bit gruff, most were quite polite, and I even got a few smiles. At 249 Queens Quay West, saw staff laughing with each other. 3/4 of the locations I visited had all their pastry items in stock. This figure honestly surprised me. The two worst offenders were 340 Front Street West, which had 6 items unavailable, including all of their Timbit varieties.
You guys have no Timbits right now? Okay, no worries.
And the location in the Mars Discovery District at 101 College Street, which had 10 items missing. Overall, though, there was less than 1 missing pastry item per location. The average dining area cleanliness across locations was a 6.9. These rankings were assigned with reasonable expectations in mind. It's Tim Hortons, so a few food crumbs on a table did not result in a 0. A few locations in office buildings received a 10 out of 10 score, but these don't really count as this cleanliness is the work of an entity independent of Tim's. One standalone location got a 10 out of 10 ranking for dining room cleanliness, 249 Queens Quay West. It looked like the franchise owner was there, wiping down less commonly cleaned surfaces around the cash area. I also kept very low expectations for the bathrooms. They're public bathrooms. Many were in slight disrepair, but I didn't get any nasty surprises. We got an average score of 6.5 out of 10 for bathroom cleanliness. Okay, atmosphere. I'll cut to the chase here. The average ranking was 5.1 out of 10. If I factored in the zeros that I mentioned earlier, it goes down to 4.2 out of 10. I'm just not a big fan of the aesthetic that Tim's has built their brand off of. Sometimes it can feel cozy. Some locations have fireplaces. Some newer locations have bigger windows and therefore don't feel as dark. But overall, it just gives depressing 70s for me. And now, the most important parameter of them all, the Timbit rating. We did real well here. These honestly rarely disappointed. They are so good. We had 4 10s and 3 9.5s with an average overall score of 7.8 out of 10. Even though the memory of how terrible these things made me feel is super fresh, I still crave the taste of them. That's of course down to precise engineering, where the producers figured out the exact amount of sugar, emulsifiers, preservatives to pump into these things to make them disgustingly addictive. So I wanted to do a little bit of digging to try and find out what I was shoving into my body that made me feel so awful this week. It's not easy to find the ingredients that Tim's uses for their items. If you go to the nutrition and allergens page on their website, you are greeted with a few PDFs that show the common allergens in their products, as well as the so-called nutrient content of each, and a nutrition explorer which loads very slowly and shows the same information as the nutrition information PDF. I'm not a fan of the use of the word nutrition here, which kind of implies that there are valuable nutrients in Tim Hortons food. Make no mistake, there aren't any. I found a document on a website called buyorganic.blog from 2016 that has ingredient information for Tim's products in Canada. I'll link it below. This document refers to the chocolate glazed Timbit as the chocolate cake Timbit for some reason and does not include the glaze ingredients. I found a list on a website called Fooducate that does include the glaze ingredients. As one would expect, there are a ton of mysterious emulsifiers and preservatives in here. I had to look up 11 of the ingredients on the list. Boom. This should be obvious, but Tim's does not produce healthy, longevity-centered food. It's meant to be cheap, stay fresh as long as possible, and activate our dopamine pathways to keep us coming back for more garbage that tastes so goddamn good. I compiled my data and weighted each parameter equally to give every location I visited an overall ranking out of 100. Our lowest was 28, given to the Yonge and Dundas location by the TTC entrance. Though service was very fast,
Thanks, guys.
the cafeteria was very far away, and the Timbit tasted like
TTC dust.
The highest rating overall was an 80, given to 55 York Street. This spacious location had a comfy atmosphere, friendly service, and gave me a very good Timbit. Another location that sticks out in my mind is 130 Harbor Street, the location with the highest atmosphere rating. It fell short on the overall ranking due to the subpar Timbit I was served. It got a 76. But I really like this location. Due to the interesting menu items and the peaceful atmosphere, it didn't feel like a Tim's. I'll close this video by recommending either of these locations. 55 York Street or 130 Harbor Street are the best Tim Hortons locations in downtown Toronto. I would love to hear if you agree or disagree. This week has made me very grateful to live in an ingredients household. I do not have a tolerance for artificial ingredients, and it showed this week. If you have any fun Tim's anecdotes, I'd love to hear them. Please drop a comment below. I would really appreciate if you gave this channel a subscribe so you don't miss the next one. It would help my ego a lot, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Fucking assholes. Die.